it's very beneficial, and it will also increase my pay. There are other educational certifications offered. There's many, and that increases your pay depending on where you work, who you work for. So that ends my list of pros. Now moving on to my cons. My first con I have actually directly connects with what I was just saying about certifications. As a sign language interpreter, you really never stop learning. It's extensive training that basically never ends. So when I go to take my certification test, I have to study up until that point. And it's also expensive to take the test. It's about $400 for the written portion and $500 for the performance. If I don't pass, I have to pay it all over again and take it all over again. Once I do finally become certified, I have to maintain my certification by taking a certain amount of workshops and earning CEUs throughout the year. Those cost money as well. You can take college classes and earn your CEUs, but of course then that's college fees and college pay. So it can be kind of expensive to maintain your certification. And of course, it never ends. As long as you want to stay certified and you want to stay on top of everything and make sure you're up to date with the newest, most recent signs, then you have to continue to go to workshops and socialize with the deaf community and be a part of the deaf world outside of work, which sometimes can be difficult. Let's see, the next con I have to being a sign language interpreter is something called interpreter trauma, also known as vicarious trauma. As an interpreter, we are trained to interpret in first person. So let's say a deaf person is signing, "I went to the store." I would voice that as, "I went to the store." So that's interpreting in first person. If an interpreter is faced with very emotional situations, often, a lot of the time that can directly impact them emotionally. We are all human, and if we hear these terrible stories happening to people, maybe someone got raped or they've lost a family member, or they're interpreting for a funeral and something someone says about the deceased person makes the interpreter think of one of their family members that passed away, a couple years ago or something, that can really affect the interpreter. So as an interpreter, we really have to have a support system or a way to de-stress or self-analyze ourselves and just take a deep breath for ourselves. We have to be able to keep our feelings out of our work and maintain non-biased feelings and really try and only interpret what we're seeing and not what we're feeling. And that can be very hard, especially if we've experienced something similar in the past. So the best thing to do for that is to make sure you have a support group or a mentor that you're able to maybe confide in a little bit and say, "I've been emotional or something struck a chord. What do you do to self-analyze, or what do you do to de-stress?" And that really is helpful, knowing you talking to someone who maybe has experienced the same thing as you, and you can get advice from them. Another con I have to being a sign language interpreter is that you can sometimes acquire physical injuries from being an interpreter. A common one is carpal tunnel. As interpreters, we use our hands and we do a lot of repetitive motions, which can cause injury to our wrists. And sometimes that means that we have to get surgery. I know a lot of interpreters, and I have invested in this as well, buy wrist braces to wear at night or to wear on the weekends when we're not interpreting, just to keep our wrists from moving that much less, and to keep them steady, or make sure we're not bending our wrists at night and cutting off the circulation and worsening whatever damage has been done. There's also joint pain that can happen from interpreting because of the repetitive motion. As an interpreter, the pay also varies. Sometimes it depends on the skill. It can depend on the experience of the interpreter, as well as the certifications and then qualifications. Now, just because you're certified doesn't mean you're always qualified, and that is something that my ITP has really drilled into me, and I definitely believe in that. Interpreters, when they are hired, they go through an interview as well as a screening process, which means they more or less interpret as for maybe a mock interpreting situation, and then they're later graded and scored on the pay that they will be receiving from that agency, depending on their skill level. So that's depending on the skill level. Then also certified, if you're NIC certified, then you get paid just automatically a certain amount. And then qualifications have to match the certification to get that extra pay raise. So that's all I have for pros and cons of being a sign language interpreter. I hope that I was clear and that I made a little sense. Thanks for watching.